Hello. Today I want to talk to you about another aspect of coercive control. And this is about why does it take a few tries before you can actually leave someone who continues to abuse you? And don't worry. Don't make yourself wrong. If it did take you a few tries, or it is taking you a few tries, there's a reason for that. I'm going to talk about it today. But the problem is that we have to acknowledge that the National Domestic Violence Hotline gives statistics that shows that it often takes, on average, 7 times before somebody actually leaves their abusive relationship for good. 7 times. Now, I have a whole lot of things to say to you today about that. And if you want to learn more, go to transformingrelationship.com, as it says at the bottom of the page. There are so many other aspects to coercive control, and you want to have a look at that. And also, the other thing that you can do is you can go to my podcast, Save Your Sanity podcast, and learn a whole lot of other things about that. I just wanted to work those two things in before you might get swept up in this topic, because it is so important for you to understand that don't make yourself wrong. Don't beat yourself up if it is taking you a little while to get away. And I often tell my clients that unless there's physical or sexual abuse, I advise you to learn some things, to empower yourself, to learn some strategies, to practice those strategies, to try them out, see what you can change in the relationship, see what you can change within yourself, and do those things first. Because you're going to have to prepare to leave anyway. There's so many aspects to it. Children, finances, families, so many things to think about, and I can't list them all here. But this is a series of hijackal hacks, how you can learn to say no to coercive control. So there are many aspects of it, and I'll cover them all over time. And remember, too, you can always write in the comments below here and in the thread, and I will respond to you. So why does it take several times? Well, abuse is ongoing, but it fluctuates. Sometimes you think, oh, it's not so bad. Sometimes you're being love bombed and somebody really wants something from you, a hijackal abuser. Hijackal is my term for these toxic, abusive people. And sometimes they really want something from you, so they love bomb you. They come back to being who they were when you met them, and it gives you hope. You think, oh, maybe they're changing. Maybe they were just going through a rough patch, and you can go back and forth on that for a while, and you get kind of hooked on that. They're seeming to be getting better, and so again, as I say, you're hooked on hope. And the thing is, there's a phrase about repeat offenders. And it's important for us to realize that when we get hooked on hope that it will get better, we forget that offenders are usually repeat offenders, right? Somebody having just one incidence of being verbally abusive, emotionally abusive, maybe they are having a bad time. But hijackals continue to abuse, repeatedly abuse. They are repeat offenders. And coercive control requires that. What they like to do is to create a really awful situation and get you into it and get you feeling really badly, and then they like to swoop in and be the hero that lifts you out of that, and that's what creates trauma bonding. So when you're trauma bonded, of course you are very concerned about leaving the situation, while knowing on another level that you need to leave the situation. So it goes back and forth. And then we have a problem, because there are some people, including the courts and some professionals, that don't believe the abuse is real. And here's why they don't: because you don't leave. And they kind of have this hooked in feeling that if it was really as bad as you say it is, you would leave. But the fact you haven't left means that it's not as bad as you say. And that is just not true. It is not true. It is not right. And they give you the feeling there's something wrong with you, that you have some kind of character flaw, some kind of character deficit because you haven't left. And it's worth looking at. Maybe you do. Maybe you don't feel very good about yourself. Maybe you don't feel you have the strength, but get some help. Absolutely get some help, because they're going to ask you that question: why don't you just leave? Well, it's not a simple answer, is it? And they may think that you're persisting to complain rather than um, actually being a sign of worsening abuse, is that you are refusing to get help or that you are not leaving. And this gets very convoluted and it gets very, very crazy making. And everything about hijackals is crazy making, right? So just because you haven't left yet doesn't mean you're not working up to it. And that's an important thing here. Are you strengthening those muscles? Are you getting clearer about what you deserve? Are you recognizing that these things are not good? These things should not be shown to my children. My children should not be subjected to this. I shouldn't be subjected to this. This is not okay. Sometimes you have to work up to that because maybe you were raised in a family that told you that you deserve that kind of behavior on some level. And then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy that of course you would have it now in this relationship and that's what you deserve. Well, no, you don't. You absolutely don't. Nobody deserves to be abused. So why is it so hard? Well, there are many, many reasons for that. First of all, as I said earlier, you're hooked on hope. Maybe you have children and you're confused. Should I stay? Should I go? Is it best for the children to have two parents? Is it better for them to have two parents separated? Or is that worse because the other parent, the one who is perpetrating the abuse, will be out of my sight and I don't know what they're saying or doing with the children? And so that's a big decision to make. Maybe it's a financial decision. Hijackals, they love to take over the finances and make you dependent on them. And then they love to isolate you away from your family so you can't get help. They do these things. Maybe it's the impossibility of a living arrangement. Maybe you don't know where you'll go yet or how to do it, and maybe you have to look into shelters or programs or find some way that is viable for you to feel you can move out. There are real reasons why you haven't moved out yet. Don't let them go into the excuse category, but there are real reasons. Maybe you're afraid of their retribution. Maybe you're afraid of being alone. Maybe you're afraid of their violating a restraining order if you were to get one. And then how would you get help? How would you be safe? These are real concerns. Maybe you need to work up to having the strength or find the personal empowerment. Those are very important things. That's why I have my membership site. So when you go to transformingrelationship.com, you can click on circles and we'll give you strength where you need it. These are all important things. And just because you haven't left yet doesn't mean you don't care about yourself or your children. People might say that about you. They may want you to hear that from them, and they may blame you for that, but that's not the case. You know, I'm going to share with you 10 things right now that come from the National Domestic Violence Hotline website. Here's just 10 of many reasons. Maybe you don't have an enthusiastic supporter on your side, and so you're afraid because you don't have anybody on your side. Or maybe the abuser is wealthy or powerful or famous, or everybody thinks they're wonderful. You know, if you've listened to my podcast, Save Your Sanity, you know that I talk about the fact that hijackals paint a public picture of perfection, and at home they create a private place of pain. And so when you were risking telling the public that this person is not who they seem to be, you could be really risking people saying, oh, well, what's wrong with you? This person looks so wonderful. And that's exactly what they've got it set up to be. Maybe you believe their threats. Abusers like to threaten you with all kinds of things. And if you believe their threats, you may stay stuck for a while. You'll have to find a way to understand how to protect yourself against their threats. Maybe you're not sure what's in the children's best interest, as I said earlier. Sometimes it all depends on the stage and age of the children. And if you have more than one child, the various what's best for each of the children when you have several. These are important considerations. Or maybe the children are putting pressure on you to stay, and that can happen. Or maybe you belong to a culture that says, oh no, that's terrible. Leaving somebody is terrible. That you just shouldn't do that. Or maybe some religious affiliation that suggests that you made your bed, you lie in it, or that you should put up with this, or if you were only a better person and loving unconditionally, then it wouldn't be happening. And that's all untrue. That all demonstrates a total lack of understanding of what goes on when you're dealing with a hijackal and dealing with coercive control. Or maybe you're in denial. Maybe you just don't want to think about the dangers because it would scare you silly. And so you just can think, oh, it'll get better. Oh, it's not so bad. Oh, we can manage. Or maybe you're just not physically well anymore. I mean, after you've been with an abuser for a while, you begin to second guess yourself like crazy, and you live in chronic stress and anxiety, don't you? You're always walking on eggshells. That creates chronic stress and anxiety, and that can take you to a place where you honestly don't believe you have the strength to leave. Maybe you can't even think straight. They love to get you in that brain fog, you know? They love to get you in what Susan Forward identified in her book, Emotional Vampires, into the fog, which stands for fear, obligation, and guilt. They get you hooked in there. Maybe you've been in the relationship so long that you have found yourself in a situation where the traditional beliefs about marriage keep you stuck, or that you can't exist on your own. You have no income anymore that is independent of the relationship. Or maybe you just believe that what everything the abuser tells you is true, and that you are a terrible person and nobody would want you and you could never make it on your own, and you start internalizing those beliefs and you think it may be true. And you may even start to believe it. And those are things that will keep you stuck. There are many, many things. So don't be beating yourself up for it. But now is the time to lift yourself up and say, okay, it is on average something that takes someone 7 times to actually get away for good. Maybe I could cut that down to 1 or 2. That would be great. And how would I do it? Because in your head, you're already hooked into creating a future with this person. You've got that dream that you had when you were in the hormone haze that I talked about on a recent podcast. You were flooded with chemicals and you were believing things, but the chemicals were causing you to distort your thinking, and you got all hooked in there on the hijackal, and you really want to believe that they love you. You need to believe that they love you, but they don't, because you should be believing their behavior. You know, I always say, follow my formula, ABB, always believe behavior. I know in your head you want to say, oh, but I remember he or she told me they loved me. Yeah, those are words. That's not behavior. And then when they love bomb you, you want to believe that that's loving behavior. No, that's them doing something they know that you will like in order to get what they want. You have to think about that. Maybe you're all stuck in your vows and say, I promise to love this person till death do us part. Well, are you willing to have them kill you emotionally or physically? I certainly hope not. So don't let anyone make you feel bad about leaving. That's number 1. You have your reasons. Think it through. Don't threaten to leave. Plan to leave. Prepare to leave. As I said earlier, if there's physical or sexual abuse, go directly to the police and report it, and then leave. But if there isn't, if you're dealing with verbal and emotional abuse only, make a plan to leave, plan to succeed, plan to do it well, plan to leave empowered. That's what I help my clients with, because abuse doesn't end until someone says no more. And that someone needs to be you, because the abuser is never going to do that. And I really want to support you in never being a statistic. Leave before you are a statistic, an emotional statistic or a statistic of violence. You do not want to be in that statistical group, do you? Because you matter. You are precious. You deserve to be treated with respect. An abuser will not do that. So domestic violence doesn't end until somebody says no. And believe me, emotional abuse, verbal abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, financial abuse, spiritual abuse, these are all issues in domestic violence. And they won't end until you say no more. So you need to leave before you're a statistic. Don't wait for the court. You could be dead by then. And you may be physically dead, but you may be emotionally dead, and neither one of them are good enough for you, are they? So don't let anybody shame you and saying you should have left by now. Simply be working on getting stronger and stronger, knowing that you will leave, that you can leave, that you're preparing to leave, if leaving is what you have decided to do. And only you know what's right for you. And I will help you think that through. Just go to beaclient.com for your 1-hour introductory workshop session with me for only $97. But it's really important for you to know that you can transform your relationship, that you can find a way to do that in a systematic way. And transforming your relationship with yourself is where it starts. To know that you deserve to be treated with love, to be treated with respect, to be treated with honesty, to be treated with reliability, to be able to trust the people that you're with, and to trust yourself. And I hope that you are on that journey. If you are with somebody, a hijackal, and relentlessly difficult, toxic person who is bent on winning by making you lose. I'm Dr. Rhoberta Shaler. Let's talk soon.